Okay, hello. It's good to see you. Hello, my name is Liam, and this is Marriage Pact. So yes, just a little bit of acquainting ourselves. That's me. After my freshman year, I dropped out of Stanford and I was part of the early team at Luminar, which is a self-driving car company. My first summer, I helped write the materials that we used to raise our seed round. We raised a $35 million seed round, which was a very large seed round for the time. And so they said, hey, don't leave, stay. And so I dropped out of school and I sort of got a front row seat to the hypergrowth that followed. Eventually, though, I did go back to school. I did some time in big tech, and eventually I graduated from Stanford. And then Marriage Pact began as a class project. Actually, it was my first quarter back to Stanford. I was taking an economics class called Market Design, and we were supposed to write a final term paper, but I didn't want to do that. So I made the Marriage Pact instead, and I still got an A plus. It worked out, but sort of incubated it as a class project for a couple of years. Eventually incorporated and just raised a $5.3 million seed round from Bain Capital Ventures and actually some of my professors, who include the Nobel laureates. But in any case, what are we doing here? We have a problem, and not we like Marriage Pact, but we like all of us. I think really the dominant social technologies of the past decade have not fully completed us, and in some cases they actually make our lives worse, which is a really feels bad kind of moment. Really, humans need to love and be loved. And I wrote this down and I said, that's kind of obvious, but without love and without meaning and meaningful relationships in our lives, people really, they get lonely, they suffer social anxiety and depression. These things are really epidemics today. And so it's bad and it's getting worse. And actually, there's a problem because existing companies are 100% incentive misaligned. You have the on-platform problem, which is that basically in consumer social, especially, all of these companies rely on keeping you on platform to grow as a business. And this is an existential problem for dating apps because, well, the only way they can succeed as a business is by working against their users' core needs. And so that's why most enduring dating apps are actually sort of more around transactional hookups. That's why most users start off and end up alone. So in any case, there is a structural incentive misalignment. There's something really terrible going wrong here. And so at Marriage Pact, we want to define how everyone makes meaningful relationships in the future, because it's about time someone did. And we think we're the best position to do so. So what is Marriage Pact at this point? We talked a little bit about things around it, but what is it really? At Marriage Pact, we use data and AI to foster genuine, meaningful relationships. And the moment of greatest intention is the introduction, but there are all kinds of other pieces to relationship too. And so just to be clear, it began as a matching event at Stanford. Basically, we said, oh, if you were to make a marriage pact with someone, who should you make it with? And that's like an agreement where you settle down at 40 if you haven't found anyone better. It's sort of like a backup plan. I don't know how many people make them seriously, but we're like, hey, this is an interesting thought experiment. Who should you actually make that kind of agreement with? So we asked 50 questions about your most deeply held values. You wait a few days, and then everyone all at the same time receives an email introducing them to their best match on campus. And it was kind of an interesting thing. And I'll just sort of bring you into the moment in 2017. We sort of put it out there, and it really started growing. And we heard from all over campus. It really blew up. CS 106B is one of the intro computer science classes, and they had a problem on the midterm that they made, or the final they did it about the Marriage Pact. People were telling me, "Oh my gosh, this is like such a Stanford startup." Actually, Y Combinator did reach out, which was funny, but we weren't ready for that yet. We sort of kept our heads down and incubated it for a couple of years. So in any case, what happened next? Well, you can see the 3 years where we incubated it, and then we're like, okay, we're going to incorporate it in 2020, and we're going to make it happen. And yeah, we've made it happen. So more than 250,000 participants so far across 80 schools around the country. This is, if you ask anybody right out of college, this is a ubiquitous cultural phenomenon. And it also works. It's sort of like the surprising thing along the way, because it was supposed to just be a backup plan. But it turns out it is fully ubiquitous at Stanford. For as an example, 98% of the people who graduate Stanford have done the Marriage Pact during time there, which as far as I can tell is like the same amount of people who do final exams. So there's also 30% of matches meet up in person, which is kind of crazy because only 1 to 2% of matches usually meet up on dating apps. And actually, we followed up 1 year later, and we found that 1 in 8 of those matches that met up were still together. So yeah, basically 3 to 4% overall of all matches have their lives changed. So in any case, it's been kind of fun, and colleges like it, and so does the news. So what's our unique insight here? At the end of the day, Marriage Pact makes products at the intersection of these three things. It's dating, social, and self-exploration. We think that these are your three most important kinds of relationships. And that's notable because great companies have been built in each three of these verticals before, but never all together before. And really, like huge companies in each one, but they've never been done together before. And why? Um, it really sucks that it hasn't been done before because it's sort of a holy grail moment. It's an improvement to the user experience. That's also an improvement to the business model. And this is kind of crazy because this is very rare. It's hard to find one of these things, and really it's because in the social component it grows faster because there are unprecedented network effects. People want their friends involved, but also strangers. The main user experience is more about being yourself, not sort of getting in touch with who you are, not about sort of filtering yourself or being only part of yourself. And then finally, that frees up the dating component to actually deliver the goods, as we discussed. So in any case, a couple months ago, I went to venture capitalists, and they were like, "Oh, this is interesting, but you're missing one thing. You have some great stuff, a big problem, exceptional growth, you have customer love, you have unprecedented network effects, but you don't have recurring engagement. We need to see this for a huge business in consumer social." And so we're like, okay, if we're going to build a huge generational business in consumer social, how are we going to do it? Are we going to look for some kind of recurring engagement? We said, let's look at introspection. Maybe what if the sort of day-to-day moment that you come back to is introspective? And so we thought, okay, we'll give it a shot. So we built this hacky little email app in 2 weeks. Basically, send your marriage pact question every day, and then you answer it, and then you get a sort of some personalized insights about yourself and your communities. And the question was, with this hacky little email app, would people come back every single day? And here's some data you won't see anywhere else. Yes, they do. If anybody's familiar with consumer social, these are dominant numbers. This is really kind of unprecedented. I mean, this is like a top 15 Android app sort of retention numbers here. So basically, we went from conversations with VCs to term sheet and money in the bank in 12 days after that. So in any case, we were like, okay, this is exciting, and we've done good enough, but I think we haven't built the best Marriage Pact product yet. I think there's something very fruitful about this space, and we want to explore it. And so, moving forward, we're taking a scientific approach. We're doing 1-month experiments, and we're really just trying to, because nobody's explored this space, but it's clear that there's something here. And so we want to make sure we don't settle before we make the best Marriage Pact product. And so, for example, how many times have you walked past someone who could have been your soulmate and you just didn't know it? Could we find them for you? Or, for example, could you see your long-term compatibility with anyone in seconds? I don't know. Or who is your number one best match, right? Like, why do you have to sort through a bunch of things when we could just tell you at any given moment, you can pull out your phone and know who your number one best match is? So there's sort of some interesting things going on here, and we're working on it. Ultimately, our vision is to reshape how people form meaningful relationships. The products that do so will combine dating, social, and introspection, and ultimately we'll build an ecosystem that does it. So who are we? And we're hiring. We're a small team, smaller than anyone here. There's 6. We're going to 12. We do have a network of part-time collaborators at sort of colleges around the country, and we are a human experience company, and we ought to reflect the diversity of it. We do collaborate in person in New York City. We would do sort of remote on a sort of case-by-case basis, and we're hiring for all kinds of things: software engineering, data engineering, machine learning, also design engineers if you're in the house, and of course product design as well. In any case, thank you so much.